I'm Katie Cooks and welcome back to my cooking channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make these delicious birria tacos. They are absolutely incredible. But before I start, don't forget to like, share and subscribe at the end of this video if you enjoyed it. So let's get on with some veg prep. We're going to start by dicing 2 large onions. That seems like a lot, but we are using the diced onions at 3 different stages in this recipe, so we do need plenty. And soon enough you'll end up with a big bowl of lovely diced onions like this. Now let's move on to the garlic cloves. We need 8 fat cloves of garlic, finely sliced, or as finely sliced as you can get them. You can use a mandolin, but I prefer to cut by hand. And then you'll end up with this big pile of lovely sliced garlic. Let's move on to preparing the meat. So for these tacos today, I've chosen to use a pork shoulder joint, which slow cooks absolutely beautifully, but you can use pork cheeks or even use a nice slow cooked beef joint, whichever you prefer. We do need to cut off the skin for this because it doesn't cook up very nicely. And then you can trim off any big bits of fat, but we do need some fat on this pork joint because we want the broth to taste absolutely beautiful and rich. So just trim off all the excess bits until you have something that looks like this. Now this particular pork joint weighs about 1.3 kilos and I'm going to actually cut it in half. This way it reduces the cooking time and you get more flavour into the inside of the meat. Now we want to season the pork with lots of salt and pepper and be generous with it because this is the first stage that we can get some real flavour into the meat. Without seasoning, your pork would taste bland and boring. Heat up a pan and add some olive oil into it and then add your pork pieces into that pan and we're just going to seal our meat. This will add more flavour and it will also seal in the juices so they won't all leak out. And just keep turning your pieces of pork until all sides are as caramelised as you can get them. Turn them every couple of minutes and they'll go golden and delicious. And then we're just going to transfer them to a different pot. Once you remove the pork, add a splash of water to deglaze the pan and then go in with half of your onions and cook them gently until they're just going soft. Then this chilli is optional, but I like to go in with 1 sliced fresh chilli and then we need to add 2/3 of our sliced garlic cloves. And just gently cook that until they begin to get fragrant. And now we're going to go in with some lovely dried spices. So we want some oregano, we want some cumin, and we want some thyme. And then add a splash of water because what this will do is allow us to cook the spices and herbs without them sticking to the bottom of the pan, burning and going bitter. And then just cook them off, giving them a stir every now and again until you can really smell all those lovely herbs. Once everything has been gently cooked, we're then going to add that to our pork in a nice deep saucepan. I'll show you why in a minute. Next up, I'm going to add some fresh coriander, and I actually like to use the stalks. I feel like they're slightly more aromatic than the leaves, so I like to snip the bottom of the stalks off and then add a few of the leaves just for good measure. But yeah, really get used to using those stalks. Now we're going to go in with some vegetable or chicken stock, is absolutely fine. And what we want to do is make sure that there's enough liquid in there to cover the pork. Give it a stir. All those flavours are going to make the most incredible cooking liquor that we're actually going to make good use of at the end of this. Cover it up and bring that to the boil and then let it simmer for an hour. During the hour, we need to make a chilli sauce that we're going to put into the cooking liquor. Don't worry, it's not too spicy, but what I've got here, they might look unusual to you, are dried chilies. So I've got a normal dried chili and then I've got 2 ancho chilies, which basically look like giant raisins. So just snip the top off of them and then try and remove as many of the seeds as possible. And then what we need to do, because they're dried, we then need to rehydrate them a little bit so that we're able to blend them up into a really lovely smooth paste with a few other ingredients. In order to rehydrate them, it's as simple as getting some boiling hot water and then just pop the dried chillies into there and just leave it for about 10 minutes until they're nice and soft and you're able to blend them up. As you can see here, 10 minutes has passed and they're lovely and soft now. So what I'm going to do is drain away all but about 2 tablespoons of that liquid. Next up, we're going to add the rest of our sliced garlic cloves, half of what we've got left of our diced onions. We still need to save about half of that to pickle for later. Then I like to go with a fresh chilli and then add a large ladle full of our cooking liquor that our pork's sitting in. This will just help us blitz it up so it's lovely and smooth. Now go ahead with a stick blender or a food processor and just blast that away until you end up with a lovely velvety chilli paste. And believe it or not, for the amount of chillies that's gone into this dish so far, it doesn't actually blow your socks off, so it is quite mild. One thing that this recipe does scream out for is a lot of lime. That's because with the dried ancho chillies, the fatty pork, you really need something that's lovely and sour to cut through all that richness. So add that into your chilli paste, give it a stir, and then what we're going to do is we're going to pour that straight into our saucepan that our pork's cooking away nicely in. Pop the lid back on and just continue to cook that until the hour is up. Have your oven preheated to about 160, that's a fan oven. Go back to your pork, give it a good stir, and I can tell you right now, this will already be smelling absolutely incredible. So once everything's mixed in and you've bubbled it away for an hour, pop the lid on and then put that in your oven, and that's going to be cooked perfectly in 2 hours. Just about 20 minutes before the cooking time is up, we're going to prepare our pickled onions. So grab the rest of your diced onions, you can add more if you like. You're going to add some extra virgin olive oil, some lovely lime juice, making sure you get plenty in there because we really do want these onions to pickle and cut through the lovely fatty pork. Add some salt, some chopped coriander, give it a stir, and then just set that aside for sort of 20 minutes to 30 minutes so that it pickles lovely and you've got a lovely garnish ready for your tacos. Use this time as well to prepare any of your other garnishes. I like to add sliced spring onions, some shredded iceberg lettuce, adds a lovely crisp freshness to the tacos. Here we have that beautiful pork. So that was 1 hour simmering on the hob and then 2 hours at 160 in the oven. And as you can see, it's literally falling apart and I'm having a little bit of trouble getting it out of the cooking liquor with my tongs. It's just literally falling apart. Once you've managed to get your pork out of its cooking liquor, grab a couple of forks and just help it along the way and just get the rest of it shredded up. Any big chunks, just get it lovely and shredded up until it looks like this. You can also take this chance to remove any large lumps of fat that may have remained in the meat. Now, there's 2 ways to serve birria. This is the traditional way. What you do is you grab some of that lovely shredded meat, pop it into a bowl, and then pour the cooking liquor directly onto it. So you've got more of like a soupy stew kind of thing. You don't need to do anything to that liquor, just pour it on top and it's going to taste absolutely incredible. We're just going to add a little bit of freshness to the dish with some of our garnishes. So I've got some of that sliced spring onion. I'm going to pop on some of our pickled onions, which really adds a lovely sourness. And then I'm going to throw over a little bit more of chopped coriander. Take the bowl away, give it a wipe, and then you end up with this delicious, this is traditional birria. You serve it like this as a stew and it's absolutely incredible. The meat, as you saw, is fall apart. The broth is incredible, but there's a better way to serve birria and it's in tacos, and this is what you've all been waiting for. So grab yourself a plate or a bowl and put a couple of spoonfuls of your cooking liquor in there. and then dip your taco. And I like to use the small tacos because I feel like you get like 3 or 4 bites of this incredible birria taco, and it's just enough. So dip it in both sides and then add it to a hot pan. The reason we dip the tortilla is to add extra flavour to it. So once it's in the hot pan, keeping it over one side, add some grated mozzarella. Leave that to begin to melt, and then go on top with some of your shredded meat. I mean, this is already making my mouth water. Next up, some of those zingy pickled onions. And then go in with some of your spring onions and shredded iceberg lettuce. And then fold that over. So now you've got a lovely taco shape. Look at the colour on the outside of that taco. It's absolutely incredible. Full of flavour because it's been dipped in that broth. The insides and the filling is just incredible as it is. And then you're just going to flip that until you get lots of lovely colour on it. And in fact, the taco will go so crisp on the outside, it adds a lovely crunch. And then pop it onto a serving platter. I've made a couple extra there. And then in a little dish, you put some of that cooking liquor with some of your pickled onions, and then you've got this delightful crispy birria taco that we're just going to cut into now. Wait for this. Are you ready for it? Absolute perfection. And so you grab your taco, you grab your cooking liquor, you dip it in, and then you just enjoy. And that's it. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe if you enjoyed this video.